Every month, gameranx rounds up the weirdest stories that you could possibly imagine in and around the gaming world and tosses them your way. I'm Falcon, and here's the top 10 weird gaming stories of January 2017. Number 10, at CES Las Vegas, Razer had a couple of brand new gaming laptop prototypes stolen from their booth. The prototype, as you can see, has got some fairly cool things to it, the most obvious of which being the sliding screen, which gives you essentially the same field of view as if you had 3 monitors, which is always nice. It's a VR-ready laptop, so you know it's got beef as well, with an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1080 with 8 gigs of RAM, as well as 32 gigs of system RAM. Each of those 3 screens is a 4K screen, so essentially it's 12K. And if it can actually run games at that resolution, I understand why somebody stole it. But the CEO is convinced it's industrial sabotage and has filed police reports and all that. I mean, filing police reports isn't a problem, it's just, I have a feeling somebody was just like, I want this laptop. I could easily have this laptop. Nobody is looking at me. Nobody is looking at the laptop. I'll take it. Number 9, the Korean military was showing off their new fighter jets about a year ago. To be specific, the KFX Fighter Jet, which took 14 years to create. And you're probably thinking, how on earth does this somehow tie into video games? I can't wait to find out how. Well, it's not something that has anything to do with fighter jets, like the pilots are trained using video games or something like that. No. What happened is the ad that they used to promote the fighter jet, to unveil the fighter jet, to sell the public on the fighter jet, contains footage from Battlefield and Ace Combat. Like, it's not even possible to say that seriously. That's dumb. The South Korean military very quickly acknowledged that the footage wasn't authorized. They said, nope, no, we didn't mean to do that at all. Somebody else did that without permission, and we didn't know. And they also agreed to not use the clips anymore, which makes sense. But what sucks is it cost around $40,000 in taxpayer money for somebody to use that clip in an ad for something that probably cost taxpayer money as well. The people who produced the video, the actual production company, said that both the Agency for Defense Development and Korea Aerospace Industries both had final say, meaning both of them approved it. I'll bet EA and Namco Bandai had a nice little chuckle at this one. Number 8, in Australia, Microsoft unveiled an inflatable Xbox One S controller. It's obviously meant for pool parties, and they did it in Australia because their equivalent of the 4th of July is now and not in July because everything's backwards there, including the flushing of toilets. It's summer there right now, and that's when their national holiday is. So why not unveil an inflatable controller for everybody to float around their pools with and think about Xbox? You know, it's pretty hot out here. It's nice to be out in the pool with this Xbox controller, but I'm just thinking, we'd go inside where there's air conditioning and a real Xbox controller. Oh, you're right, Jim. Let me just take this shrimp off the barbie and we can go inside. I have no idea if we're going to see this in the United States, but I will say I hope so, because it's cool. I like it. I'm just going to say that. Number 7, Microsoft has stopped supporting Minecraft Pocket Edition on Windows Phone 8.1 and Windows 10 Mobile because not enough people play it on the platform. There's a lot of people saying that what's going to happen is that during the transition between Windows Phone 8.1 and Windows 10 Mobile, which have different types of development environments, Windows 10 only supports the universal Windows platform. But the thing is, they try to get people to use Windows Phone. And one of the ways that you do that is by providing decent competition, but at this point it seems like that's just not possible. Even if it is a transitional period, just giving up on it for now is not a good look. It doesn't work out for Microsoft in any way that gets people to be confident in the Windows Phone platform, and it just kind of looks dumb. Like, oh, you don't even put games on your phone? Like, why should I? Is something that I'm sure a lot of developers are asking right now. Number 6, Dead Effect 2 was recently ported to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and the developer did something that's kind of not cool. Now, a lot of indie game developers send out letters that remind the reviewers that their game was created by a small number of people and isn't a AAA effort. Badfly Interactive went a step further, though, and decided to say, if you give it an overly negative review, we won't send you any review keys in the future. So regardless of the quality of Dead Effect 2, I don't know what the quality is, it's not a good practice. If you're a game dev, don't do this. The reason why companies aren't credible and why game journalists aren't credible is because nobody's allowing anybody to do any actual journalism. Journalism that would, overall, encourage higher quality. We could go on forever about that. Number 5, a couple that met on Diablo 3 got married fairly recently, which is a nice thing to hear as it is. That's enough to be like, yeah, that's good. But it's not weird, is it? No, it goes a lot further than that. They actually went ahead and did a really elaborate cosplay photo shoot ahead of their wedding. And when I say really elaborate, I mean not kind of elaborate. I mean, they had a professional cinematographer do the photo shoot. They did a few shots on a gray background as well as a bunch of green screen shots, dropping them in because of limited location access in South Korea. There isn't really a whole lot of medieval dungeon-y type stuff, but in all honesty, it turned out really well. I wonder how much it cost to do this, because it seems like it would be a lot. But then again, everything involving a wedding costs too much anyway, so at least do what you want to do, right? Number 4, a developer from Respawn, the Titanfall developers, recently said F no when questioned if you'd be able to play Titanfall on Nintendo Switch. He was having a conversation with the interviewer about how Nintendo consoles are usually very underpowered, and talked for a while about how Nintendo is such a niche market, and blah blah blah. They're also probably one of the healthiest video game companies financially that's ever existed, but whatever. I have to say there's one thing I do really appreciate from him on this front, and it's just total honesty. They didn't try to glaze over it in any way. Like Ubisoft tried to do that with the Wii U. They tried to be like, yeah, we'll develop for it. And then they barely developed for it. And pretty much everybody did that. Yeah, we'll develop for it. But they're like, no, we don't want to make games that won't work at a good, reasonable pace on hardware we deem to be inferior. Now, here's the problem, I think. It's not just that it's underpowered, it's that gaming companies seem to be in a race to create the most realistic possible thing. But like, we're talking about a game where fighting robots shoot each other. Like, I'm perfectly fine if that has stylized graphics instead of realistic ones. I don't really care. It can't actually look realistic. Nothing like that has ever happened in real life. That doesn't mean Nintendo couldn't try a little bit harder with its hardware though. Number 3, somebody building a PC left a tube of thermal paste out, in their room. Thermal paste, which, kinda looks maybe a tiny bit like a syringe, a little, but like a baby syringe, the kind that you give children medicine with, not like a inject real drugs syringe. However, his mom happened upon it and confronted him about it, saying, I found this in your room, and we need to have a serious talk. Like, do you want to know about how I keep my CPU cool? And the mom, obviously not having any idea what's going on, probably would be embarrassed if they understood it, but no worries, she doesn't. Number 2, in Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, the multiplayer deals in a lot of the ways that modern multiplayer deals, in that they have in-game currency that you can buy for a certain amount of real money. You can get a rare supply drop in the game for 30 keys. Infinity Ward had an in-game event where they gave away free supply drops, and one of them contained 30 keys. And people found that by mashing the button, just repeatedly pressing it as quickly as they could get tens of thousands of keys from that supply drop, obviously circumventing the need to ever pay for a drop of any kind. So people who did this got banned for 48 hours. And people who didn't do this are like, what? They were mashing the button as quickly as they could to get something that I had to pay for. Or even worse, had to work for. Like, it's seriously just a 2-day ban. Now, the people who did this got their key and salvage counts reset to 0. So it's not like they got to keep that stuff, but if they spent any of it on in-game items, they got to keep those items. So a lot of people are sitting here like, why didn't I do it? And finally, number 1, somebody finally made contact with alien life in Elite Dangerous, something that they've been searching to try and find at some point for years in the game. Remains of an alien race, specifically ruins and messages, have been found in the past, but now we're seeing something specific. The official Elite Dangerous Twitter acknowledged it, and this race is called Thargoids. They actually did appear in the original Elite game, but had retreated outside of human space by the time Elite 2 came out. Previous appearances of them have never been as cool as this appearance looks. They come off as somewhat of an insectoid, biotic, kind of scary alien. and they fit that trope pretty well. And I had to say, just a random clip that somebody uploaded from their gameplay is really cinematic and cool. So thanks a lot to DP Sayer for sharing the clips. If you'd have just kept it to yourself, nobody would have known, and that's nice of you to have done. So which was more interesting to you, the Thargoids in Elite Dangerous, or somebody stealing a Razer laptop with 3 screens? Or any of the other stories though. Just let's talk about all this weirdness in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please click like, of course, and if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do it. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is a subscription. We thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.